guys, this is Deborah Voorhees, Tina from Friday the 13th, Part 5, and the director of 13 Fanboy. You're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past, Trick or Treat, Don't Smell Tommy's Feet. See ya!
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming the director of Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, Adam Marcus. And I can't wait to have him on today. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Jason Goes to Hell is not my favorite of the series, and it's not a favorite of a lot of people. But I know there's a lot of people out there who do love the movie. And it is an interesting movie. There's some good killings in it and stuff. So I'm having him on today to talk all about that stuff and talk about any upcoming new projects as well, and the whole precipice of the making of that movie. And it's going to be pretty good. So yeah, here is my interview with Adam Marcus. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Tommy. I'm sorry about this, dude.
It's okay, man. It happens all the time.
I had my composer and one of my associate producers walk in the room as I was about to reach out to you. So forgive me.
It's okay. It happens all the time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's such an honor. Thank you.
Oh, please. What are you kidding? My pleasure, man. That's my pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time today. So going back in time, did you fall in love with film early on?
Oh, yeah. No. Well, I mean, look, my sort of, mutant origin story is simply that my whole family in some way was connected to the entertainment industry and to the business. Many actors in my family, there's one guy in particular, a guy named Ned Eisenberg, that if you're going to be like, oh my God, I've been watching that guy for 40 years. He's one of the leads of The Burning.
Yeah.
So camp horror seems to follow me wherever I go. And then, of course, I grew up in a wonderful little community in Connecticut, a little town called Westport, where, it was just nothing but sort of amazing actors and artists and directors. And, I sang at Martha Stewart's Christmas parties on the holidays. We had people like, Paul Newman living down the street from us. I mean, it was that kind of community. It was pretty amazing. And my best friend was a guy named Noel Cunningham, whose dad was Sean S. Cunningham. And that's sort of how I got introduced to all of this in a professional way. But look, I'm like most of the guys and ladies of my generation who fell in love with movies. Mm-hmm. I am a guy who, I went to see Star Wars. I'm 9 years old. Second day of the release of the movie. And the second the Star Destroyer flew over my head. Dude, that was it. I mean, I turned to my dad and I said, I want to do that.
Yeah. Was that the first movie you ever remember seeing?
Oh, God, no. No. I remember my first movie in a theater was a reissue of Disney's Mary Poppins. And I remember every moment of it. I remember, actually, it's very funny, I remember getting very upset with that movie. At the end of the film, I cried. I was furious because Mary Poppins left the kids.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, and I was pissed. I mean, it was really like, what? Why would she leave them? They're awesome. It was like that kind of, so even as a child, I got very empathetic with film, and it always sort of took me on this emotional journey, which is what I love about movies. So it's why I had to be a filmmaker. There's just no way around it.
Nice. Do you have a list of your favorite movies of all time?
Sure. It's a surprising list because, look, most people think, like, when you love, when you make horror movies and you love horror, people think, like, that's all you're going to love, and it couldn't be further from the truth, even though amongst my favorites are things like, The Exorcist, The Shining, The Thing, Carrie. I'm a huge fan of Jaws, which I think is the most perfectly directed film ever made. just from a directing standpoint, it's immaculate. I'm a giant fan of Spielberg in general, but of that film in particular. Look, my favorite movie of all time is Bob Fosse's All That Jazz.
Oh, that's a good one.
And, a lot of people would never think like, oh, but you like horror movies. Like, well, yes. But you have to be inspired by all of it in order to be able to have a lexicon of film, to be able to borrow from, to understand the way movies get put together. For my money, Alan Hines' work as an editor on All That Jazz, there's no film ever made that's been more finely edited. It's a milestone in my opinion. I think Bob Fosse was, because I grew up in the theater. I was a theater kid. Bob Fosse was a god to me. Like there was nobody more important than Bob Fosse. And so to see a filmmaker bare his soul the way Fosse does in that movie, to see a filmmaker expose himself to an audience that way, not since Fellini's 8.5 has a filmmaker really done that. So to that extent, all filmmakers expose themselves in some way to their audience, but Fosse really laid everything bare and made one of the most entertaining movies I've seen. And I've watched that movie probably over 100 times now. It's just an extraordinary film.
Yeah, horror filmmakers have very eclectic tastes, I've noticed. I saw an interview with Rob Zombie a couple weeks ago. His dream project is to make a biopic about the last decade or so of Groucho Marx's life, and that's a far cry from The Devil's Rejects.
My only concern, though, and by the way, I'm a fan of Rob, but it's interesting. My only concern would be I would worry that Groucho suddenly would be raised in a trailer park, eating beans from a can that he shares with a dog. That's my only concern about Rob Zombie's Groucho. But no, dude, look, let's be honest. Again, the business and the audience tend to put us all in a box. And it makes it easier for people because then you're a branded item. But the truth is, Wes Craven spent his whole life wanting to tell other kinds of stories. He didn't just want to tell horror movies. He didn't just want to tell, scary stories. It's why Music of the Heart was so important to him. And, Meryl Streep loved working with Wes. So this idea that we are all, I think some of John Carpenter's finest movies are things like Starman, which is truly just a beautiful science fiction love story. We're all capable of telling other stories. Not every Martin Scorsese movie does someone have to get whacked for us to enjoy the movie. Hugo, I think, is one of Scorsese's triumphs.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a children's movie. It's an incredible film.
Yeah.
So, and then, you go back to Spielberg. Is there a genre he hasn't told a story in? Spielberg could have easily been saddled as a horror movie director because, let's be honest, Jaws is a horror movie. Sharks don't, fly and land on board ships and eat the captain of the ship. That doesn't really happen in real life. So it's, there are great horror directors who should be not only allowed to make other kinds of movies, but embraced by the audience who loves them. It shouldn't feel like a betrayal, but a lot of times with horror movie audiences, the minute you go outside of their comfort zone, you sort of betrayed them a little bit, which is a shame.
Yeah, I remember Wes Craven did Music from the Heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that was so underrated. Like, that movie could have been, it could have been received a little bit better, I think.
I agree. But look, even Wes Craven, when he did Surfing the Rainbow, that, while it still has some horror movie elements, he was really trying to expose something really fascinating and sort of political in that movie. And it's a great film. Like, that's just a great movie. And when people talk about Wes Craven, they rarely bring up Surfing the Rainbow. I think it's one of his finest films.
I agree. That's a good movie.
Yep.
So, according to my research, from the time you were 15, you were producing and directing plays. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Wow, so that's amazing. Yeah, you were like a child prodigy.
A little bit. You know what? I feel like I was never really a teenager. I feel like I went from, being a tween to a middle-aged guy. And I had kind of a business sense very early on about show business, about it being a business. And my whole bent in filmmaking, right now I run a company with my two partners, with Brian Sexton, who's a brilliant producer, and my wife, who's my writing partner, Deborah Sullivan. The three of us run a company called Skeleton Crew. And a big part of why I created Skeleton Crew is the same reason I created my theater company, Westport Theater Works, back when I was 15. I created these companies because I love working with a family of artists. And in movies, you get like a new family on every movie, which is great. I'm not saying that's not awesome. It's awesome. But for my money, I actually like to have a consistent family that I work with all the time. If you look at, Clint Eastwood's filmography, if you look at all the movies he directed, almost all of them have the same crew, literally the exact same crew on all those movies. Well, that's a family. That's a group of artists that you start to create a shortcut with each other, where you're not spending as much time on the minutia of filmmaking. You're spending time actually making and telling the stories, and that's more exciting to me. So, as a teenager, when I created my company, I was already working in three other theater companies as a director and as an artist, as an actor. But for me, I wanted to be able to tell stories the way I wanted to and have a certain amount of autonomy. And so I started doing a lot of kind of big musicals. Was sort of where I started. And again, because Bob Fosse was my hero, that's where I started. But no, by the time I was 21 and I moved to LA, I had done over 80 shows in back east. And by the way, it's the reason I was able to go to NYU. It's the reason I was able to pay for all of my movies that I made at NYU, including the one that won Best Picture at NYU, and ostensibly got me Jason Goes to Hell. So.
Wow. So you prefer film over theater?
No, actually, I love film because film is forever. Like, you put something, out there and it will live forever. What's great about theater is that it's only a moment in time. So the people who saw a show, it's like this great small club of people who actually got to see this live thing, which is really exciting. What I can tell you is, what I love about theater is there's an audience reaction and response. It's an immediate gratification. You finish the show and people get to see it and they give you their approval or they don't. But it's immediate and it's exciting. There's an electricity to that. Film used to be more like that, but now that more and more movies are just not going to theaters, that, the theaters are full of, the top 20 movies that are out at any given time, there's not as much wiggle room, especially for little horror movies. And by the way, it's why I think Lionsgate and places like A24 are awesome, because they're giving these tiny horror movies a chance to get an audience. And for me, there's nothing better than sitting in a theater watching a horror movie with a packed house. Like, that's the best experience I've ever had. And that's the most like theater. When you look, it's very funny. My three favorite genres are horror, musicals, and comedies.
Yes.
So all three of those movies are audience participation genres. All three of those genres. So it's always better. A comedy is always better with an audience. You watch comedy at home and it's funny, it's diverting, whatever. But when you watch a comedy in a theater, there's a whole room full of people who are all going to laugh at different things, which makes you laugh at different things. A horror movie, dude, I mean, one of the best experiences of my life was sitting in the theater watching Exorcist 3. And the big jump in Exorcist 3, I truly watched an entire theater of people jump to their feet.
Wow.
An entire theater. By the way, I had that experience 5 years later. I had the same experience with when I was sitting in a theater watching my movie. watching Jason Goes to Hell, and when the glove came up to grab Jason's mask, the entire theater jumped from their seats.
Wow.
It was incredible. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And they weren't scared. They were just excited and applauding and thrilled, and it was like this amazing moment. So, I think that's the connective tissue between theater and film. I love film because it's something that will last, my whole lifetime, and I can look back on it. And people can still look. The number of people who have rediscovered Jason Goes to Hell in the last 5-6 years has been crazy. There's this new wave of appreciation for the movie. I think because there are a lot more people, and it's interesting, I was talking with, Peter Bracke, right? The writer of Crystal Lake Memories.
I know who he is. Yeah, I haven't met him yet.
Yeah. So Peter, amazing guy, he is actually doing all the historical research, and also he's conducting all the interviews on the documentary being made about Jason Goes to Hell, Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Final Friday. And Peter and I were talking about this, and Peter had said, it's really fascinating to watch. There's a new generation of people that are watching the Friday the 13th movies, and the people who didn't grow up going every year to a different Friday the 13th film, some of them start with Jason Goes to Hell. Or they watch the movies, but they don't have the same connection to the hockey mask. The hockey mask isn't what the whole thing's about. And they hit Jason Goes to Hell, and they go, ooh, this is totally different. It's still Jason. It's still in the world of this, but this movie is taking this huge risk. And so there's a new appreciation for what I was initially trying to do. And, I always find it funny when people think like I was somehow disrespecting the films because I was making changes. It's exactly the opposite. I was a giant fan of the Friday the 13th franchise. For God's sake, I was there when the franchise was born, literally in the house of the people who gave birth to it. But for me, I felt like, as a fan, we got to part 8. I was like, man, I'm getting bored. Like, this is not fun anymore. It's not fun. And it's the same guy in a mask hacking people up. And I'm really I'm a little disappointed in it. And so I wanted the next movie to be like, wait a second. Let's take a moment and let's actually explore Jason's origins. I'm so tired of people telling me, well, it's about a mother and a son, and I'm like, no, it's not. Stop. That's what the first movie's about. It's kind of what the second movie's about. After the second movie, it is about this demonic force coming at you. And the fact that he is killed over and over and over and over again, I'm sorry, it's not a human being. I love when people are like, do you like human Jason or zombie Jason? I'm like, when did human Jason show up? What movie was that? Because, I'm sorry, from part 1 to part 2, in part 1, he's a child still at the bottom of a lake who jumps up and grabs Alice. Well, he was a child when he drowned. So he's been a child for 30 years? And then in part 2, he's grown a foot and a half. He's put on 120 pounds. And he is now found a way to drive. First off, find clothes that fit him. Drive. Find Alice. I guess he looked through the yellow pages at that point. Kill Alice. Take Alice, his mother's head, and drag them back to Crystal Lake to his shrine. So, how is that a human being?
I know.
Like, I love when people get on the Halloween franchise. They're like, who taught Michael Myers to drive?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Who taught Jason Voorhees to drive?
Yeah. I know, it's insane. Yeah. It's insane. So, what's your...
it is insane. It is insane. And it's people who are in love with an idea of something rather than being in love with... Look, I think movies have to have a logic. They don't have to be normal, everyday logic. They have to be logic within the universe of the films. And so that's what Jason Goes to Hell was about. It was like, I want to make a logic for these movies. That's why the movie opens with the FBI looking for Jason Voorhees, because there's been over 100 murders in this tiny little part of New Jersey. Come on, guys. Like, the feds would be in on it. It's the most prolific serial killer in American history. They would have somebody trying to figure out who the hell's killing all these people. etc. Once it's a serial killer, it's not a local issue anymore. It's federal. So that's why I made a lot of the decisions I made. Jason Goes to Hell, and it seems like people now are starting to appreciate those ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see a lot of people coming around, well, especially when I go to conventions and stuff. Yeah. I love 1 through 6. The first one's my favorite slasher movie of all time, I have to say.
Awesome.
But
awesome, my respect.
But by the time 7 came around, I think that's around the time Viacom took over Paramount and the series became kind of corporate-y and it just didn't have the small charm that it had when it was at Gulf Western Paramount, you know?
Sure. Yep, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Look, I also think, Part 6 is my personal favorite. I love that movie. I'm a huge fan of that film. But here's the thing. I also think when they got to Part 7, I think they simply ran out of ideas. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly they're like, I know, we'll have Jason fight Karen.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
They were trying to do anything they could to, let's spice up the series. And then they were like, okay, well, that kind of worked. So how about Jason goes to the baddest city in the world, Manhattan? But we don't have the money to go to Manhattan, so we'll go to Vancouver. I mean, it's like, guys, or Montreal. I think it was Montreal. But honestly, Jason goes. Jason 8 should have been, Jason takes Princess Cruise Lines.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's him on a boat. It's an hour of him on a boat.
Yeah. And
then you get to Manhattan for the last 25 minutes. I'm like, sorry guys, that's not Jason Takes Manhattan. At one point, we were even talking about after Jason Goes to Hell, something that was more like Jason Takes L.A. And I know Dean Lorry had pitched this to everybody, but about Jason being in a gang war between the Bloods and the Crips in the early 90s, which is hilarious, which is actually a really fun idea. It's a cool idea. But I also was like, who got Jason a bus ticket from Jersey to L.A.?
Mm-hmm.
It's just all a little silly,
Yeah.
I wanted Jason Goes to Hell. Ironically, I wanted Jason Goes to Hell to take the silly out of the franchise, and that's why I brought the Evil Dead in there. It's why I tried to create Jason as more than just a zombie, because he's not a zombie either. I think that denigrates the character. He is magical. He is hell's assassin. And that was the idea. A demon from hell is much more interesting to me than just a guy who's in a hockey mask murdering teenagers. That I don't find as interesting. And I don't believe that's who Jason is. I don't believe that's ever who Jason was.
Mm-hmm. I compare Part 7 to Halloween 3 and Nightmare on Elm Street 2, where the formula was strayed, Yep.
Yeah, I hear you. And again, look, I think John Buechler did a beautiful job with the movie. I also think that he did a beautiful job with the look of Jason. I think the look of Jason in 7 is fantastic. But it becomes sort of a weird drama. And here's the thing about the Friday the 13th franchise. They're fun. The movies are fun. That's why I love that franchise. And I agree with you, Part 1 through 6 are all really fun movies. Even 5, which a lot of people, shit on. I don't.
I love 5.
What I love about 5's awesome, and you know why 5 is awesome? 5 is just a little bit sleazy. It's got some dirt under its fingernails, and it's fun. It's like gross and fun. It's like grimy, cool movie. And look, by the way, if all 5 did was give us Deborah Voorhees, then it's totally worth 5 being a movie. Because she's the bomb. She's just fun. She's one of my favorite people. She and I are friends, and I adore her, and it's just awesome. 13 fanboy, I think, is going to be amazing. And I just think she's incredible.
She's one of the most special ladies in the world, and I'm proud to say this podcast begins with a plug from her. So
I love it. That's awesome.
Yes.
I didn't even know that, and she is truly one of my favorite people, so that's fabulous.
Yeah, I just adore her. And I contributed to 13 Fanboy. I get to see my name in the special thanks. I can't wait. That's going to be awesome. I auditioned for the movie and didn't get it, but that's okay as long as I have my name in the credits.
Absolutely. My wife, Deborah, who is an absolutely brilliant brilliant actress as well as an incredible screenwriter and producer. Deborah is in 13 Fanboy. Deborah Voorhees cast her in the movie, and she actually cast a few of the actors that are in my company.
Nice.
So there's definitely a skeleton crew presence in 13 Fanboy, so that's kind of awesome.
Awesome. That is really awesome.
Yeah.
So when Jason Goes to Hell was New Line's first foray into the Jason franchise, I mean, was there a lot of high expectation?
Yes, there was, absolutely. But I have to tell you, I was so focused on making a good movie and making something exciting that I really didn't put a lot of thought into the high expectations. There was, without doubt. But I was so enthusiastic about what I was doing that I kept bringing New Line new ideas like the Necronomicon, look, I'm the guy who came up with the ending of the movie. Freddy pulling Jason into hell was my idea.
Mm-hmm.
I even had to go to court to prove that when someone tried to sue one of the executives at New Line over this, and saying it was their idea. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. And I can tell you when it happened. Because I'm sitting in my apartment with my two roommates. One was my writing partner at the time, Dean Laurie, who's an amazing, brilliant writer, and Noel Cunningham, who's the assistant editor on the film, and a terrific guy. And so the three of us were sitting around. The two of them were getting stoned to Jesus, and I don't partake, so I was kind of clear-headed, but I was going, guys, I want to figure out more cool ways to connect other horror films to our movie so we can create this kind of universe of movies. By the way, before there were movie universes, I was trying to do that. And I said, wait a second, doesn't New Line own Freddy outright? And they were like, yeah, I think so. So I called up Mike DeLuca and Mark Ordesky, our two executives on the film, at home that night. And I said, hey, guys, can I have Freddy's glove? And they said, why do you want it? Well, and I told them the ending of the movie, and they were like, dude, I couldn't have gotten that glove faster. They were so in love with the idea, so over the moon with the whole thing. Next thing you know, I had the glove. So,
wow.
Yeah. So no, New Line was great, man. Bob Shea was awesome, a little intimidating, but awesome. And they really supported the movie. They were really cool. They were really cool about it. I'm telling you, they came to my set for the first 2 days. They watched the first week of dailies, and then they just went, great, this is awesome. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. And that was it. They never bothered me again.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
It was awesome. And, look, Sean Cunningham, while he and I have our issues over the years, and I think that he's been a little bit of a shitheel about the movie, especially in the last, in recent times, on set, he was a great producer. I mean, he was a guy who made sure that I had the things I needed to make the film. He tied my hands a lot. He created problems for me in storytelling areas, but for the most part, he was a really amazing line producer for the film. So, that part of it was great.
And this is one of the few Jason movies that was shot in L.A. because all the others were New York and Georgia and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were all over the place. It was Los Angeles. We were all over in L.A. We were in Woodland Hills. We were in Thousand Oaks. We were in Ventura. And then a lot of our stuff was in Culver City, shot on stages, the same stages where they shot the old television show Alf.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this giant picture of Alf the alien staring at us when you would look out the window of the Voorhees house. It's pretty hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Was there any tensions or problems with any members of the cast on the set?
Look, there's famously some stuff that went down between Carrie Keegan and I. It really was, it was over some really nonsensical stuff. It was her first movie. It was my first movie. And I was 23 when I directed her. She was, I think she was a little bit older than I was. And it got squashed over the years. It's the kind of stuff that I just go whatever, some noise. The real tensions on the movie were really between Sean and myself. That's the only tensions that I think amounted to anything. The cast, dude, I was blessed with the cast I I think that Jason Goes to Hell has collectively, because I think there are great performances in all the movies, but collectively, I think it has the best performances of the franchise. The people in that movie, the amount of skill, the amount of people that have left that film and went on to incredible careers is extraordinary. I had great actors, and I offered them to do rehearsals and to spend time working on the project. And, dude, I rehearsed that cast for weeks before we ever shot a frame of footage. We were rehearsing. Because my theater background, I'm an actor myself. I love actors. And I wanted them to feel like they were part of a company. Because, look, here's the thing about movies and actors, especially actors who are only on a movie for a couple of days, right? Mm-hmm. They will come in to do their days and leave. And that's it. That's the end of the relationship. I hate that. I really hate that. It's like, I want actors to feel like this is their movie, too. And by the way, I feel that way about Crew as well. This is not my movie. That's nonsense. And look, I went to NYU, which is, the home of the auteur theory. Right. I think the auteur theory is bullshit. I think that every member of a cast and crew has to feel a certain ownership of the film they're involved in and feel like I'm helping to tell this story, but it is my story, too. And so for me, I picked actors that tended to have a very heavy theater background so that they would work the way I work. I ended up, that cast is insane. I mean, I'm sorry, Erin Gray and Allison Williams and John D. LeMay and Rusty freaking Schwimmer, Leslie Jordan, Stephen Culp, Jonathan Penner. I mean, these are like amazing. And I'm sorry, Stephen Williams. Holy crap. Like, could I get a better Creighton Duke? He's insane. He's so good in that movie. So it's, I had an incredible cast. I really did. I had amazing actors working.
Yeah, people don't realize that, too, about the Jason movies. There's some damn good actors in all of them. Yep,
there sure are. Absolutely.
They are well cast, those movies, And, it's sad, too. A lot of them, didn't go on to have big careers and stuff. There's some that did in certain movies, but, they're well cast movies.
Absolutely. Look, dude, when you consider that, Kevin Bacon came out of Friday the 13th, Corey Feldman came out of Friday the 13th, Crispin Glover came out of Friday the 13th. Come on, guys. Like, there is some amazing acting talent in these movies. What I'm saying about Jason Goes to Hell is that it's a consistency. I feel like my entire cast, like soup to nuts, everybody is freaking great in that movie. Andrew Block is so good in that movie. And, intimidating it is when Kane Hodder is on set every day and he's your stunt coordinator, and you are playing Jason while Kane Hodder is standing in front of you. You know how intimidating that shit is?
Yeah.
and again, Kane, because he's such a gentleman, he's such a remarkable guy.
Yes.
Kane could not have been more supportive of the cast. He could not been more helpful. And by the way, not one injury on my set. Nobody got injured, which is amazing, and that's all because of Kane.
Oh, that's great.
And then look at even in roles like Julie Michaels at the beginning of the movie, who is so good in the movie. Julie, she did stunts. She gives this performance. Julie's now an Emmy-winning producer and stunt coordinator. Like that's crazy. That doesn't. When you look at the alumni of this film and you track their careers, my God, we've had incredible successes out of this cast. So again, I think when you honor actors and honor the way they actually work, the way that they like to work, I think you end up with a more fruitful product, and I think that's what happened on the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple of years ago, I was at a convention. I'm getting the first Jason Ari Lehman's autograph, and Kane came up and pinched Ari on the elbow, and Ari smeared his name all over my DVD cover.
That's very Kane.
Yeah, and Kane's line was out the door, and I was like, okay, if I don't get to meet him, I'm going to count that as my signature. But then I did meet him.
There you go.
I met him on Sunday. This was Friday night. Yeah, he's a really funny guy, Kane.
He is. He's great. He's a great dude.
Yeah. I love Leslie Jordan's death in the movie.
Yeah, me too. Me too. He that was a rough one too, because we actually had to shove him into that. It was Birch beer, because that was his favorite soda. So we shoved him into the Birch beer, which he knew was coming, but he did not like that. He found that very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That was one of the rougher moments on set. But he was a trooper. He's a great actor.
That was like a borderline Toxic Avenger / sleepaway camp type of death.
Totally, exactly, man.
Aside from the overall movie, I mean, do you think that there was anything else about the movie why people didn't like it as much as the others?
I think there's only one reason. I think the only reason that people react to this movie in any kind of negative way, because I think they would have taken the mythology, I think they would have dug all the little Easter eggs, I think the Evil Dead thing would have been fine. I think it's simply the fact that we took the mask out of the movie for any period of time in the movie is what bothered people who love Jason.
Yeah.
Because they go, Jason's not in the whole movie, and I'm like, no, Jason is in the whole movie. He's just wearing a different mask. He's wearing another person's body as his mask, but it's still Jason. And that's the part that they can't quite get their minds around. And by the way, there's a lot of people who are big Jason fans who go, I love Jason Goes to Hell as a horror movie. I don't like it as a Friday the 13th movie because there's not enough Jason in it. What's really funny as well is that if you add up the amount of screen time that Jason with the hockey mask is in the movie, it's more than almost any of the other films combined. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
He's on screen with the mask for a lot of the movie. It's just that people, because it's not sparsed out through the film, people react to it that. But the truth is, Jason's in the whole movie. But again, I get it. Listen, and I don't blame any. If you love the hockey mask, if Jason is your Mexican wrestler, great. I totally get it. I get it. You like the mask. You love that. I got it. But I still made a movie that Jason is in the entire film, and in fact, he's in the film much more so than any other Friday the 13th film. He's in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just want the mask Jason, he's in more than a lot of the films that preceded it, just screen time wise, with the mask.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, I get it, and I respect people's disappointment with that. I totally do. But the truth is, I really was trying to make a love letter to the fans. I really was, because I'm a fan. I love these movies. I really do. Even the ones that I'm not as crazy about, I still love them. I still have an affection for all of these movies. I mean, maybe minus the remake.
Yeah. Did you come up?
It's just very corporate. It's just corporate.
Yeah. Did you come up with the poster with the snake?
I did not, in fact. I had a poster that was I had a poster design that was much more sort of Drew Struzan inspired. But the poster that New Line came up with, I was not a fan of when they first showed it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong. I was wrong 100%, because that poster was incredibly helpful in getting people out for that movie. In fact, the poster was banned in a lot of places in the country, and they put a big black sign over the creature that said censored or banned. It couldn't have been better for us, because the minute you ban something, everybody really wants to see it now.
Wow.
So I kind of love the poster now. Back then, I was not as in love with it.
I personally prefer the one with Kane with the mask all beat up and stuff.
I did too. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
It worked. The movie opened number 2 at the box office. This is back in 1993, and The Fugitive had come out the week before it, so I knew we were never going to get number 1. But it was awesome because in Variety that Monday after the film opened, in Variety it said the headline was "Top spot goes to Fugitive, rest of box office goes to hell," and that's awesome. Like, I'm sorry, that's in my office to this day. It's freaking awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
So, did you co-produce My Boyfriend's Back?
Yes, I was actually actually, I was an associate producer on the film. What happened with that movie is that's the movie I brought to L.A. with me when I first moved out here to work for Sean Cunningham. And it's the first movie that I ended up getting made for Sean's company with Disney. So, yeah. Yep, that was me.
I remember when that movie came out. I thought it was pretty funny.
You know that movie came out 1 week before Jason Goes to Hell?
Ah, I didn't realize that.
Literally, we came out back-to-back weeks. So, My Boyfriend's Back came out August 6th, 93, and Jason came out August 13th, 93. Wow.
Which one made the more money?
Oh, Jason Goes to Hell by a lot. By a lot. Like, way more. And we also got better reviews.
Really?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. When Jason Goes to Hell came out, we got some good reviews. We got great reviews in the New York Times. Washington Post gave us a great review. We got some great reviews. Yeah. It was one of the rare Friday the 13th movies to get some great reviews because most of them are just get trashed.
Yeah. You would think it would be the other way around because My Boyfriend's Back. Wasn't that a Disney movie?
It was a Disney movie.
Yeah. That's ironic.
It got beaten up, man. It got really beaten up. And Jason Goes to Hell did not.
Wow. So after Jason Goes to Hell comes out, did it become hard for you to get another movie made for a while?
No. I was actually I was offered a ton of movies. I actually had a 3-picture deal that was being done with New Line, and then Ted Turner bought New Line, and he got rid of all the horror films. He literally, that was it. All the horror deals were done. Were gone. So I got offered a ton of sequels. I got offered an Amityville sequel. I got offered Pumpkinhead 2. I got offered Scream, the original Scream. And when it was called Scary Movie, that was the original title of Scream. Mm-hmm. And I loved it, loved that script. And a week and a half after I was offered, I was sent the script to my agent. Wes Craven said he wanted to do it. It was like, okay, well that's done. Wes is going to do it. Bye. So I got offered a ton of horror movies. The problem is, almost every movie I got asked to do had a number at the end. It was all part number this. And Leprechaun Back to the Hood. And I didn't want to do that. I did not want to be that filmmaker. So what I did instead, my wife and I sold a bunch of scripts to the studios. I sold a bunch of movies during the 90s. And then my brother Kip, who of course is in Jason Goes to Hell and is a brilliant actor and an even more brilliant writer and producer, who's going to be in our documentary, by the way. Kip brought me a script that was originally a play that he had written in New York, mm-hmm. that he wanted to make into a film. And he and I went off and made the movie Let It Snow, which ended up becoming an international success. Incredible cast again in that movie. And then we were a Sundance film. We won AFI's awards, like across the board. We swept the awards. We were all over the world with that movie. It was kind of incredible, actually. Mm-hmm. So I made a romantic comedy as my follow-up to Jason Goes to Hell. And then I did a lot of TV work because of it. Mm-hmm. Sold a bunch more scripts. I have scripts at every studio in town. There are scripts of mine sitting there. And every once in a while, one of them gets made. You're like, yay, that's awesome. Then after I did that, I made a movie called Conspiracy, starring Val Kilmer, that my wife and I wrote and I directed. Mm-hmm. And that was quite possibly the worst experience of my entire career because Val Kilmer's a monster. Oh, yeah. Awful. And the producers on that movie were unscrupulous and horrible, horrible people. And totally unprofessional, didn't know what they were doing. They knew what they were doing, which is worse. They were basically raping the budget and handing me peanuts to make a movie. And to make a movie with a toddler called Val Kilmer. And right after that, I did Texas Chainsaw.
In 3D?
The what?
Oh, Texas Chainsaw in 3D?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did My wife and I wrote that. And then because that movie, when Deb and I saw it after we'd written the script, and mind you, we beat 17 other writers to get that project. There were 18 of us up for the project.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I beat 17 other writers. We wrote a script we were very proud of that Lionsgate loved. And then the producers went and made a movie that still had our name on it as writers, but they dramatically changed things like, giving somebody a smartphone in 1993. It's nuts. So we wrote a really cool movie that, by the way, got us a lot of other writing jobs because the movie was pretty terrific.
Mm-hmm.
And when Deb and I saw what got delivered from that film, I turned to her and to one of my best friends, Brian Sexton, who was an associate producer on Conspiracy, who was like my only real, pal on the production team of that movie. And I said, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of going to see movies that I've written that are not the movie we wrote. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I want to have some control over what we're doing. And we formed Skeleton Crew. And it is the best thing I've ever done in my life. I'm making movies that I believe in because we're the ones saying yes or no to things. And if somebody doesn't like something in one of my movies now, I'm cool with that because I'm the one making the decision. So I'm cool to take a ding for something I create. I'm not cool about taking a ding for a decision somebody else made.
Mm-hmm.
So we're making movies our way, which is amazing. We've got a ton of stuff going on. We just released Secret Santa, which has been in 22 festivals all over the world. Premiered at the Sitges Film Festival in Spain, one of the biggest festivals in the world and the biggest for horror. We were, at Fright Fest London, at Fright Fest Glasgow, one of the only movies to ever show in both of those festivals in the same year, which is incredible. And then Fright Fest bought the movie for distribution in the UK because they loved it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie is going to VOD later this month. It'll be on iTunes, it'll be on Amazon and Google Play later this month.
Nice.
So that's, incredible. And that's our first feature. And again, it's all my actors. The performances are incredible. I got Bob Kurtzman, one of my best friends for the last 28 years, who was the guy who was my right hand on Jason Goes to Hell, who was, Bob, who's the K of KMD Effects.
Yeah.
Bob and Greg and Howard were the guys who, made all of that amazing stuff in Jason Goes to Hell, along with people like Brian Ray and Bill Hunt and John Disson, like incredible artists. So Bob came to make Secret Santa with me, and now Bob is part of Skeleton Crew. He's going to be directing for us as well. But Bob did all my effects in Secret Santa, and then he shot second camera on Secret Santa. So, I have this amazing team working at Skeleton Crew, and then I got brought this documentary on Jason Goes to Hell, where there were these people who wanted to make this movie, and they wanted my involvement, otherwise they weren't going to make it. And I said, okay, well, look, I'll do it if my company produces, and I'll only do it if it's going to be a warts and all story. I said, I don't want a fluff piece. I don't want the thing you get on the back of the DVD.
Yeah.
I said, if you're going to make a documentary, then let's really make a documentary. Let's really go for the stories. Let's tell a story. And I said, look, the story you guys need to tell is, who in their right mind would let a 22-year-old film school knucklehead write and direct the ninth sequel in the biggest horror movie the biggest franchise in horror movie history? Who would do that? Like, that's insane. Who does that?
Yeah.
And they did. And so now we are making a movie, Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Final Friday. That is, it's a love letter to horror movies. It's a love letter to the fans. It's also about the controversy over the film. It's about people who love the movie, people who hate the movie, and it's about how it actually happened, how it got to be made. And it deals with a lot of the controversies over the film. So it's pretty exciting, man. I'm excited about the doc. We're doing this Indiegogo campaign for the doc, so that again the fans can be part of the really the force that's going to get this movie made. And so they are helping as producers, essentially, to create this film with us. So I want the fan interaction. We're doing a ton of stuff with fan art. We're doing a lot of stuff with fan reaction to the film, both good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really, again, you know, I wanted to make a documentary that's a tribute to the fan base, not just to the filmmaker. So it's kind of awesome, man. The campaign has been incredible thus far, and you know we're going to keep kicking ass.
I can't wait. That's gonna be awesome.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. It's I'm telling you, the movie is. And by the way, look, I got the people that we've gotten back to be on this film.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I've got Stephen Williams. I've got Kane. I've got John D. LeMay. I've got Rusty Schwimmer.
Oh yeah.
I've got Michael Silver, Catherine Atwood, Julie Michaels, Andy Block. I've got Brooke, the baby Stephanie from the movie. Brooke Scher is in the film.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, my brother Kip is going to be doing an interview from Luxembourg for this film.
Nice.
I got Bill Hunt, who's now in New Zealand. He's going to be in the movie. I've got Bob Kurtzman. I've got Howard Berger.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Brian Ray. I've got Jeremy Padow. I've got like an unbelievable cast. It's extraordinary. Everybody wanted to come back and talk about this movie and talk about their experiences. It's just super, super freaking cool.
Oh, that's
it's going to be an amazing film.
That's great. You know, it's funny too. I've interviewed a great deal of people from the Jason franchise and the Freddy franchise and a couple other franchises. It seems to me the Friday franchise people are the most grateful and appreciative, whereas people from those other franchises, they're grateful and appreciative too, but they seem to have a little bit more of a passiveness and a resentment towards it too because of stalkers involved. But the people in the Jason franchise, they seem to be they love it. You know, they didn't expect for it to be successful all these years later.
Yep. Look, here's the thing. By the way, one thing I didn't mention, and then I'll go to your directly to your point. But the director of the documentary, because I didn't mention him yet. I mentioned Peter Bracke, who's amazing. But I got a guy named Edwin Samuelson to direct the documentary. Who's a New York documentarian who is a freaking genius. The guy is like extraordinary, and he's the one who's kind of putting this whole thing together with me. He's amazing. I just wanted to shout him out because he's incredible. But to your point, look, dude. Look, here's the thing. I think that the fandom around the Friday the 13th franchise, the Friday fans, there are no better fans in horror.
Yeah.
They are the most hardcore. By the way, it's also why they beat me up a lot. And, the ones who don't like Jason Goes to Hell, dude, the number of people who told me I raped their childhood. Like, what did I do?
Yeah.
I've had three people tell me they hope I get ass cancer. That's a very
my God, that's
type of cancer.
That's extreme.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Along with that comes people like T.J. Bowser, who created the Jason Goes to Hell fan page, and Corey Kaufman, who these guys, like, now they are a big part of the documentary. They're actually helping with the documentary. They are ride or die when it comes to Jason Goes to Hell. And here's the other thing about it, and it's where what you said about like people who respond almost negatively to the fact that they've got this like throng of rabid fans about their work.
Yeah.
So the night that Jason Goes to Hell came out, I had seen the movie so many times by that point. I was like, I cannot see it again. I need a break from Jason Goes to Hell. Please, let me see something else. And I'd already seen it with an audience for like the last 4 nights running. So on the night that the movie opens, on August 13th, 1993, I paid for a ticket for Jason Goes to Hell, but I walked into the theater playing a great movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer. Okay?
Yeah.
Which is an amazing movie, written and directed by Steven Zalian, the guy who brought us the script for Schindler's List. He's an Academy Award-winning, brilliant artist. Starring Sir Ben Kingsley, Joe Mantegna, Joan Allen. It's an incredible film, right? Amazing movie.
Oh, yeah.
right? But ask how many people know that movie.
Very few.
How many people know Jason Goes to Hell?
Everybody.
It's crazy, right? Everybody knows Jason Goes to Hell. Everybody. And so few people know Searching for Bobby Fischer. And I go like, wow, that's how important our fan base is. That's how cool our fan base is. Because a film that is really a movie that should have won Academy Awards, Searching for Bobby Fischer, it's an amazing film. It's beautiful. It's delicate, extraordinary, well-told story, beautifully acted. It's an amazing film. And I'm telling you, people might know the title. They've never seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't even know the title. I bring it up all the time. People go, what? And I go, you should see it. It's a great movie. But here's the thing. Jason Goes to Hell, like, they just go tell me, go, oh, yeah, I've seen that. It's kind of incredible, too. I don't know if people would know what Steven Zalian looks like. But I get stopped at FedEx from a guy behind the counter. It's like, wait a minute, are you the guy who made Jason Goes to Hell? I'm like, oh, my God, that's crazy. That's crazy. But that's our fan base. That's how cool the Friday fans are. So, look, I would implore anybody in these movies, like, first off, when you sign on for a horror film, please know it might take over your life a little bit. It might. I mean, I have made a lot of movies. I've written a lot of movies. I've had a huge career, and I'm telling you, I am still Adam Jason Goes to Hell Market. A movie I directed when I was 23 years old, I'm still known by that movie. And you know what? Great. Cool. I don't understand people who get frustrated or pissed about that. It's like, no, man. If that's who I am, that's who I am. By the way, I'm also the guy who made Secret Santa.
Yeah.
I'm also the guy who made Let It Snow. I'm also the guy who wrote Momentum. I'm that same guy. I'm the guy who's making a shit ton of movies now. And I'm okay that I'm still known by most people as Adam Jason Goes to Hell Marcus. That's cool.
Yeah. Did you name Skeleton Crew off of the Stephen King book?
I did and I didn't. When I was 15 is when I started originally Skeleton Crew. That's when I first started it.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen King's one of my favorite authors, and the book
Mine too.
is definitely in my purview. But what I love about the name Skeleton Crew, one, it's got a little bit of a horror movie feel to it. The other thing is that one of the things we do at Skeleton Crew is that I am really against the bloat of filmmaking. I think that there are too many cooks in the kitchen, always too many cooks.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I hate when I'm on set and somebody's sitting there waiting to be told what to do. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate anybody feeling bored on a film set. And most film sets, they always say are boring. Making movies boring. Here's the thing. I have never made a movie where it's boring. Everybody is working. Everybody has a great time. Everybody's enjoying each other's company and working their asses off to get something done. That happens when you have a Skeleton Crew. When you only have the people you need to have, you have to have on set, that's a Skeleton Crew, and that's the best way to make movies.
Nice. Yeah, I know that book because The Raft was in that book because it was in Creepshow too.
I love that story.
Yeah.
I love that story.
That's a great story. It's an underrated one. Yeah.
Well, my best friend is a guy named John Esposito. He's been my best friend since Jason Goes to Hell and showed up on set.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of Bob Kurtzman's best friends. And John Esposito wrote Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, which is out of the book Skeleton Crew. It's Jerusalem's Lot. And yeah, so he was in his early 20s when he made that movie. So I have a deep connection to that book. I love that book. It's an amazing book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking too, if your New Line contract had held out a little bit longer, you probably would have been able to make more movies that were horror because they eventually did Final Destination in 2000.
Yep. But that was after Ted Turner sold the company.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. He came in and he wanted to make Gettysburg and Gods and Generals, and so he made Civil War movies.
Yeah.
Which did not do well for the company. So yeah.
No.
Yep.
I was curious. In Secret Santa, you have Drew Lynch. How did he come to be in the movie?
Drew Lynch was a student of mine for 9 years in LA. Mm-hmm. He's one of my actors. He's one of my crew. So I've been working with Drew since before he had the accident that created the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, I directed and produced Drew's first hour-long comedy special last year called Did I Stutter? So, yeah, no, Drew and I have been friends for a decade. I love Drew. He's tremendous talent. And, Drew, I'm like Drew's uncle.
Yeah, I saw you had directed a special for him, and Howie Mandel has a cameo.
Yep, he's great. Howie's awesome. Great guy. And he's the reason that Drew got the Golden Buzzer on America's Got Talent. So Howie's been incredibly important to Drew's career, and so we had to have him out for Drew's first special. Nice.
When does that come out?
Soon. We've been to a few comedy festivals. The movie's doing great. It's just I'm one of those guys that I like to make sure that an audience gets to see it live, gets to see it in the theater before we go to video platforms, because I want movies to have a life in a theater. And the film is, it's almost an hour and 15 minutes, so it's feature length. So I wanted people to get that experience because he's incredible and it's great on the big screen.
Would you sell it to HBO or Showtime because they do the comedy specials?
Sure, absolutely. But here's the thing: I think that the world of Hulu and Netflix and all that.
Oh yeah,
that's more where comedy is going. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, you will probably see us there.
Oh yeah. I mean, Howie did a Showtime special earlier this year, but I don't know how many people saw it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. You go like, well, guys, you want an audience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely Amazon and Netflix. That's where it's at for comedy.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I've been an open micer for 13 years and stuff. I'm working on.
That's awesome, man! I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, it's comedy is hard, but I enjoy doing it. I'm working on some one-man shows that I hope to get on the stage in the next couple of years or so.
That's great, man. I love that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, comedy and movies.
Have you seen Secret Santa yet?
I haven't seen it yet, no, but I just noticed that Drew Lynch was in it.
Yeah, it's because it is a comedy horror film. It's a horror-comedy.
Yeah, a horror-comedy.
A horror-comedy, yeah, and it's pretty badass, man. It's a pretty great movie. You should definitely check it out. It's the thing I am most proud of.
Nice. I will check it out. Yeah. I will definitely check it out.
Cool.
It's a Christmas themed horror, right?
It sure is.
Yeah.
And it's not a killer Santa. It's definitely different than any other Christmas movie you've seen.
It's not like Black Christmas or To All a Good Night or any of those.
No. It's one of my favorite reviews said it's a mashup of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and The Crazies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty good assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Is that available on Netflix?
No, not yet. It's available on Blu-ray and DVD, and then it'll be available VOD through iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play later this year.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out either way.
Yeah, cool.
Well, Adam, I thank you so much for coming on today. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, brother. Had a great time.
Yes. I can't wait for those projects to come out. That's going to be really awesome. And I hope they do very well for you.
Thank you, brother. You should definitely check out the Indiegogo campaign for Hearts of Darkness. I think you'd dig it.
Yeah, I'll check that out too.
Cool. I love it.
Okay. You have yourself a great day.
You too, brother. Talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Adam Marcus. Ain't he a cool dude? He sure is. Great stories, great anecdotes, great projects coming in the future. I can't wait to see that documentary about Jason Goes to Hell. That's going to be fucking awesome. And that Drew Lynch comedy special. Can't wait. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame
and living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.